So we are starting the Racing Turtles lab, and to get started, we can create a new file. Right? So you want to have PyCharm opened up, and you could say File New, and we're going to say Python file, and we will call it Racing Turtles. And hit OK. So there we go. We have our author is Daniel Lee, and we could say OK here. So now to get started, something that I didn't really talk about earlier that I want you to start doing when creating your Python files is to always start your programs with a main function. And so how do I do that? Well, down here at the bottom, you're going to call the main function, right? And the main function is just like the start function in CodeHS. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say def, because def is the way that we create a function. It stands for a definition of a function. And I'm going to put main, semicolon, hit enter, and now I could type all of the commands that I want to have happen. And so this is the exact same thing as just going ahead and creating your commands right here. It's just the common convention. It's the way that programmers typically write their programs. Alright, so we call main down here. The program jumps up to line 3 and begins instruction. Okay, great. So what do we want to do to get started? Well, we would want to go ahead and look at draw something. And what did we do to get started with draw something? Well, we imported turtle. So let's go ahead and copy that, paste it right in the top of our program. Import turtle and random. And of course that does not go inside of the definition for the function main. Neither does okay, right here is where draw something is now. And now we're going to go ahead and create our screen and create our turtles. Right? And let's go ahead and do that inside of our main function. Okay, well, great. And you'll notice that there is an underline here underneath the main function definition. And if you put your cursor there and just leave it, you can see that it gives you a heads up. It tells you expected 2 blank lines but found 1. And so what that's telling you is that Python likes to have 2 blank lines on top in between their function definitions. Okay, so since that's the way that Python wants it, let's go ahead and do that. So we create our background color. Maybe we could change that to gray, and we can make our shape our turtle. And now what do we want to do? Well, let's go ahead and start to draw our starting line and our finishing line. And let's go ahead and start. So we'll go ahead and do a pen up, right? Because we don't want to write as we move across the screen. So we say t.penup. And then we're going to say t.go2, right? And we'll give it an x and a y. So on the x, I'll say negative 250, and then on the y, I'll say positive 250. And then I want to go ahead and move down to make my starting line. So I'm going to say t.go2, and let's do. Okay, so it's still negative 250 on the x-axis, but now it's going to be negative 250 on the y-axis. So these two commands are going to take it from the top of the screen on the left side down to the bottom of the screen on the left side. And so that's going to draw our starting line. And let's do a, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to do a pen down, right? So let me go ahead and grab that. I'm going to put my pen down right in here, dot pen down. And then I'm going to go ahead and write, and let's go ahead and run that and see what happens. Oh, I can do that down here. I could say run, and say run. Click on Racing Turtles right here at the top. And here we go, right? But you can see that the screen just exited right away. And why is that? Well, it's because we didn't do our screen dot click on exit on click. So let's come back down here, and again, still inside of our main function, let's go ahead and say exit on click, and I'm going to run that again by pressing the play button down here at the bottom, and you can see we have our starting line. Right? So I want you to go ahead and use the same technique to draw your finish line over here on the right side. And one little trick that I want to talk about before you do that is on some of the examples you saw that the starting line was red and then the finish line was blue, right? So what about if we wanted to do that? How would you do that? Well, right here, right before you start to, when you have your pen down and you're starting to go, you would say t.color, right? And you would set it to red. And you can go ahead and change that to whatever you want, and it will draw a line of that same color. So do you see how that happens, right? And so now if we go ahead and pen up and move the turtle over to here and pen down, we could then change our turtle's color to blue and draw another blue line over here. So why don't you get started doing that?